start working out the tension from your day. And when you're ready, you can sort of switch directions. Start sort of grounding in place here. When you're ready, bringing the chin to the chest. Start rolling the neck out, either just side to side, or if it feels good for you, bring it all the way around. Feeling the stretch sort of at each point as you move the neck around. You can add the breath here, maybe inhaling as you go around the back, exhaling to the front, or however it feels good for you. Really feeling that nice release through the neck. And when you're ready, switching directions. And then just coming to a nice seat with the spine straight, interlacing the fingers behind the back, pressing up through the chest, gaze is out in front or up high. And taking some nice deep breaths here. Should feel good in your upper back. Bring the fist over to the right side. Slowly dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. That feels okay. Feeling that stretch to the left side of the neck. Breathing into that space. There's not a lot of movement in yin, but with the breath you can feel some movement in that space where you're stretching. Maybe take one more deep breath here, and then we'll move through and switch sides. Bring the chin to the chest, the fist down through the middle of the back, to the left side, left ear to left shoulder. Stretching through the right side of the neck. Breathing into that space. Okay, and then releasing here, dropping the chin to the chest. And just coming back to a nice neutral spine. Bring the hands to either side, and then we're going to inhale the arms up, and then cartwheel them over to the right side. So, sorry, that's going to be opposite. So, placing the right hand on the ground, the left hand reaching up and over, feeling a nice stretch through the left side body. Again, breathing into that space, feeling the stretch with each breath. One more breath, and then we'll move to the other side. Reaching up high, facing up at the ceiling, and then cartwheeling to the left side. Really reaching strong through that right arm. Feeling the stretch through your right side body. Listening to the pigeon cooing in the corner. Pigeon yoga. We have a mascot. Found we have 2 pigeons in here with us. Okay, and then coming back up to neutral, and we're just going to bring the hands, the palms to the knees. They could be face down or face up. And just, you can allow the eyes to close if that's comfortable, and just starting to notice the breath. And starting to lengthen the breaths. So long, deep inhales in through the nose. Long, deep exhales out through the nose. You can constrict the back of the throat and start to feel sort of a yoga breath, or the ocean breathing. Sort of an audible sound in the back of the throat. Can help you focus when there's pigeons cooing in the corner. So trying to make those breaths about the same length. You can maybe count to 3 or 4 as you inhale. And again, as you exhale, noticing the feeling of the breath as it moves through your body, in and around the nose and the face, and then through the chest and the ribs and the belly. And starting to find yourself present here. Maybe setting an intention for your practice. It could just be allowing yourself to be present for the next hour or so. Or just focusing on something you're grateful for. As you continue to focus on the breath, if you like, you can add mantra to the breath. Maybe you have a mantra you like to use, or if you want to use one that I like, on an inhale, you can think, I'm here. Now on an exhale, I have arrived. Just allowing yourself to arrive in your space, in your body, and just give yourself the gift of being present here for the next hour or so. So when you're ready, you can just allow the eyes to slowly flutter open. And we'll come into our first Yin Yoga pose for tonight. So we're going to set up on the knees. So if you have a blanket, coming to your knees on the blanket with the feet tucked underneath. If you want to move away from the pigeons, you can. There's plenty of room up in the front. So if they're distracting or uncomfortable, you can come up here. Okay, so coming to your knees, and then coming forward onto your hands and tucking your toes underneath. And this is Yogi Toe Squat. And just checking in with the toes, spreading them out, making sure all the pads of the toes are down and they're all engaged here. And sitting back onto the toes. And I see some grimaces. But this is a really, really important pose. Our feet are the furthest, they say our feet are the furthest from our mind. So it's really important to remember the feet, give attention to the feet. And if you ever feel pain, come right out of it. If you feel a little bit of discomfort, you can come forward. But we're going to do some arm work while we're here. So reaching the arms out to the side, deep breaths, giving yourself a big hug. And then turning to point the fingers up to the sky. And feeling the stretch through your upper back and shoulders. As you sort of bring the elbows up to parallel with the floor and just pull forward. If this is too intense, you can just bring the arms straight together, or you can wrap them around and do arms. And just taking 3 or 4 deep breaths here. Coming forward off the toes if you need to. Coming back down. 2 more deep breaths here and we'll switch. Okay, let's switch and bring the arms out wide. If you need to come up, do so. It's okay. Come back into it. Now try to remember which arm is on top and switch. Giving yourself a hug and then bringing your arms up. Really stretching through that upper back. 2 or 3 more breaths here. Flow should be energizing for your body, starting at your toes. Okay, now coming back wide again. Let's all come forward on our hands. Paddle those toes down on the mat. That's a good release. And we're going to come back. Now leaving the tops of the feet down, coming back onto the tops of the feet, holding onto the knees, or you can hold the floor beside you and just sort of stretching out the top of the foot. This is like a yogi ankle stretch. And just 1 or 2 breaths there as a counter stretch. And if it feels okay, we're going to come back forward again, and we're going to do another short yogi toe stretch. So tucking the toes again, spreading the toes out. When you're ready, come back on the toes. This is good for your ankle strength also. And we're going to do some cow face arms. So reaching the right arm up overhead, bending at the elbow behind your back. Left arm around the back. If they can connect, that's fine. If not, that's okay. Just lifting the chest, keeping it straight back. You can come up if you need to. Come back down. Feeling that stretch through your tricep. Deep breaths here. 2 or 3 more deep breaths. Embrace the country music. getting me through this pose. Good. Okay, let's release. Come up if you need to. All right, and then bringing the left arm up and over, bending at the elbow, right arm around to the back, keeping that chest lifted, and feeling that stretch through the left tricep. Okay, and let's all release. Release the arms, come forward, paddle the toes down. And we'll just come back and do just a couple of breaths in that ankle stretch. So tops of the feet down, and we'll just rock back and stretch out those ankles. And so this is supposed to be a very energizing pose. Starting off with this. To sort of set the tone for an energizing practice. Okay, so next we're going to set up for our next pose, which you'll be happy to know is child's pose. So we're going to be on our knees still, so let's spread out our blankets nice and wide. Sort of halfway down the mat, spreading the knees wide. Toes together if that's comfortable, sitting back on your heels. And walking the hands out forward. You can either stay up on the fingertips or come down to full recline if that feels good. Rolling the forehead out on the mat. Yeah, and this should feel really good for the whole body. So noticing where it feels good for you tonight. Poses are going to feel different on different days. Breathing into those spaces of tension, making sure that the muscles are relaxed. As I said, this sequence is inspired by a spring forward sequence. So this sort of childlike, the child's pose should invoke ideas of the inner child, playfulness. We've had some pretty cold weather this winter, but tonight we have this beautiful evening, so just embracing warm weather, fresh air, sounds of the birds, maybe just invoking the idea of playing in the grass. And sort of that childhood innocence and the energy that we can all get from childhood or our inner child. We'll just rest. Maybe able to spread your knees a little bit wider or bring the hips a little bit lower as we're in the pose longer. So just remember this is still an active practice, even though we have the goal of relaxing the muscles. Just embracing the stillness. Finding your inner child where you don't have to be anywhere else but here. Another deep breath here, and then slowly walking your hands just about halfway up, and then we're going to walk them over to the right side. Really reaching out, maybe extra long with that left hand, but keeping the left hip down, and just feeling that stretch nice and long through the left side of the body. Noticing if the stretch in your hips changes, those inner legs. About 5 deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, slowly walking the hands back about halfway. Everything slowing in. Walking back to the center and then making your way to the left side. When you're reaching that right arm out extra far. But keeping the hips down. Feeling a nice stretch with the side body. Noticing if this side feels different. Count about 5 deep breaths. Okay. Make sure you're getting a nice deep stretch. And then slowly lifting the hips, slowly walking back to the center, walking your way up, bringing the knees together, and finding your way back to a nice seat. And keeping sort of wiggle the legs out. Drop the knees to either side. And we're just going to come to a nice seated twist when you're ready. So stretching the legs out in front, bringing the right foot up and over. And you can leave the left leg out long or you can bend it back, whichever is more comfortable. And then we're going to reach up tall and twist to the right and drop the left elbow around this leg that's bent up. Twist into the leg. Turning the neck if you'd like to get a neck stretch. That's comfortable. Okay, then just on an inhale, reaching up, and we're going to come around, just do a quick open twist. Just one breath here. Back to center, and we're just going to set up on the other side. So I think that should be bringing the left leg over, or just the opposite leg, bringing the other leg back if you can, if that's comfortable. And then reaching the right arm up, dropping that elbow to the knee, or if it's more comfortable, just hugging the knee in, and twisting around to the left for 3 breaths. Just to make sure we get our twist in. Okay, and then opening back up, and we're going to do an open twist. Okay, and coming back to center, we're going to set up for our next pose, which is called saddle pose. And we're going to do a half saddle on each side. And there's a couple ways to get into it if you can, just sitting with the legs out front, bending the right leg back this way. If that's hard for you to do just like that, you can come into windshield wipers and drop the knees to the left and then bring the leg back. So you're going to want to have this right knee pointed forward, foot pointed back. If you know right now that you have a knee injury and you can't do this, let me know. It looks like everyone's comfortable there. So there's a couple different variations here, depending on your goal in the pose and your comfortability level. If you're already getting a really good stretch in the quad here and that feels good, you can stay right here. You can also start to lean back. That'll increase your stretch in the quad, and the main goal of the pose really is your lower back and where your back attaches to your hips. So if you want to come back to your forearms or even reclined all the way back, you can. If this just feels way too uncomfortable for you, you can still get a great quad stretch by coming forward. So whichever feels better, and maybe you do it coming forward for a couple times, and then your third or fourth time trying this pose, you'll be comfortable coming backwards. So just finding out what your comfortability level is and taking your time figuring it out, because we're going to do it on both sides.
So you stay on the ground.
It doesn't have to. It's okay if it lifts up a little bit. Yeah. But just find your edge. So remember, your edge is where you're comfortable. You're getting a good stretch, but you're not straining yourself. Wait for your body to invite you further. Remember to relax the muscles where you're feeling that stretch. Again, that's the quad, the lumbar spine. Notice where else you might be feeling it. Probably stretching the knee joint, which is good. We need to stretch our joints to strengthen them. Turning to your breath here. Remembering that part of the work we're doing here is mental, and it's sitting in an uncomfortable position and finding our way through it. Here for another 3 breaths. Okay, and so to come out of it, if you're sort of on your forearms, maybe coming back up to your hands, and then if you want to sort of turn your weight towards the leg that's outstretched, I'll take the pressure off of your leg that was bent underneath. And so you're going to feel some immediate stiffness. That's a very intense pose. That means it's really good for you. So let's shake out the legs, drop the knees to either side. Notice if you felt it more in the lumbar spine or more in the quads. And then we're going to set up for the other side. So sitting up tall, or maybe dropping the legs to the right side and bringing that knee back. I should say, if you're practicing this at home and you want to try it, coming up, sitting on your foot is more where you feel that lumbar spine. So we're focusing on the quads tonight. So the foot is tucked to the side of us. And then you're probably going to want to take the same variation you took last time. So coming back, if that's what you did before. Coming forward is great too. You're still getting a really good stretch. You're adding a stretch in the leg out long if you come forward.
Touch my soul.
You can roll out the ankle of the foot that's out long. That might help release some of the tension on it. I find myself doing that. I'm going to do about 3 or 4 more breaths here. It's an intense pose, so it's something you can work up to. All right, so just coming out of it again, coming back up to your hands, maybe rolling onto the leg that's out long, calling a forklift, whatever you need to do. And again, just shaking those legs out long. Maybe more rolling out of the ankles. Okay, and we're going to get into our next pose, which is puppy pose. So your blanket maybe is still out from child's pose, if not, setting it up again. And again, we're on our knees, so I hope nobody has a knee injury because we really focused on knees a lot tonight. But maybe this would be therapeutic. And coming up onto our knees, so this pose, you're going to keep the hips stacked over the knees to get the most benefit of the pose. And then just coming forward on the hands. And this is kind of like child's pose, but you're keeping the hips raised. And walking the hands out in front, allowing the chest to fall to the mat. And you can have the forehead on the mat, or you can even, if you're really flexible, bring the chin down. But if you do that, not moving the neck around, keeping it really gaze straight ahead. And this pose is really focused on the upper back and the shoulders, stretching those out really good. So again, just evoking that playful, spring-like, childlike idea here in this pose. And let's take about 3 more deep breaths here. And then from here, just take your time to walk your hands back. We're going to just come to a counter stretch, either child's pose variation with your knees together and your hands behind you, or you can just stay seated upright, interlacing your hands behind you. But just allowing the shoulders, the back to relax, taking about 3 to 5 deep breaths. Great, very good. Slowly make your way up, and we're going to set up for our next pose. We're going to start with a low lunge with dragon pose, taking your right foot forward. Make sure your back knee's on your blanket, and then take a moment and just kind of check your setup. So you want to make sure the knee's right over top of the ankle. Maybe lift that back knee up. See if it can go back a little bit further. So we get a nice long space between our front heel and our back knee. And we're going to stay right here in this position for about a minute. If you need to at any time, you can come to an upright dragon pose. take a moment and notice where you feel the stretch. This is a great stretch for our legs, for our hips. Coming back to your breath. All right, from here we're going to transition into a lizard pose variation. So you're going to bring your hands down, take your right foot over to the right side of the mat, bringing both hands inside. And let's just stretch it out a little bit first. So come onto the pinky edge side of that right foot, take your right hand to that right knee, and we're just going to open up the hip. Do whatever feels good, maybe adding a twist, dropping the left hip down, looking over your right shoulder. Good, and then we'll come forward, pressing the whole pat of that foot down. Both hands are going to start out inside. You can stay here in the pose. If you want to go deeper, maybe go in stages. So taking that outside hand, bringing the forearm down, checking in and seeing how that feels. You can either stay there. If it feels like too much, just come back up onto both hands. Or maybe eventually try to go a little bit deeper. Maybe try to bring the other forearm down. Coming back to your breath in this pose. If you notice your mind starts to wander. And we'll be here just for about 3 more deep breaths. Moving nice and slow, make your way onto your hands. I'm going to add an option. So either stay onto your hands, or if you want a little bit deeper of a quad stretch, lift that back foot up. Make sure you're not on the kneecap. It's going to be, right hand's going to reach back to that foot. Maybe you can grab it, maybe not. It doesn't matter. Kind of try. If you can grab it, you can maybe have a little bit of a quad stretch. If you can't, don't worry about it. 1 or 2 more deep breaths. I know this is a little bit more intense. And then slowly release. We're going to make our way out, however you want to come out. Make our way into a downward facing dog to just stretch everything out. And then heel toe your feet and down dog. And then you can come back onto your hands and knees. We'll take a child's pose, or you can just sit up straight, interlacing your hands behind your back for a few breaths before we move on to the other side. All right, let's set up for the other side. Bring the opposite leg forward, and really kind of pay attention to your setup, taking your time. The front knees over the ankle, lift that back knee up. See if it can go back a little bit farther. And we're going to start out just here for about a minute. Hands either on either side of the foot, or you can bring the hands out to the knees, really focusing on the lower body. Coming back to your breath. Noticing how this side feels compared to the other side. Just letting your body release into the pose. From here, we'll make our way into the lizard pose variation. So moving the left foot over to the left side, and we'll start out just stretching it out. So you can take the foot out at a diagonal, coming onto the pinky edge side, pressing the left hand to the left knee. If you want little twists, stretching up the hip. And then you can make your way backward to the center. Foot's forward, pressing the whole part of the foot down. Starting out with both hands inside, checking in. And don't be surprised if the side is quite a bit tighter or not as tight as the other side. That's normal. Going down in stages if you want to go down deeper. So maybe starting out with that outside forearm, checking in, seeing how that feels. You want to stay there, or maybe eventually go deeper or even come back up. About 2 more deep breaths. Take your time to come back up onto your hands. Either staying here, or you can lean forward a little bit so you're not right on that knee. Lift that back leg up. Maybe just stay there, or you can reach that opposite hand. Going that shoulder back, maybe reaching for that front. If you can grab it, stretch. If not, don't worry about it. This is more option. All right, go ahead and release. Take your time to make your way out. Maybe just stretching the legs out long, and then whatever feels good, and then making your way into a downward facing dog. Then when you're ready, we'll make our way into a child's pose, or just sitting back on our knees and releasing the hands behind the back, about 3 to 5 deep breaths. All right, very good. You can make your way up to a seat. And good news, we are going to lie down on our mat. All right. You can have the strap nearby because we're going to use the strap. Also, your blanket, we're not going to use it right now, but we'll use it towards the end. So if you want, you can roll it up, kind of in a little roll like this, and we'll use it towards the end to go along our spine. So you can kind of get it ready. And once you make your way on your back, take your time, no rush. We'll just start out by hugging our knees in towards our chest and kind of just moving in a circle. So massaging your lower back on the mat a few times in each direction. All right.
From here, we're going to stretch out our hamstrings. So start out with both knees bent. Take your strap in your right hand and you're going to place the strap around your right foot. All right, just bringing those foot straight up towards the ceiling. You're gently going to pull that foot back towards you. Trying to find your edge. So you want to find that spot where you're feeling a good stretch, but you shouldn't be yanking. You shouldn't be pulling that strap down as hard as you can. Option here to keep that left knee bent. So keeping that knee bent might feel good for your back. It might allow your back to lie flatter. But if you prefer, you can straighten that left knee and get a little bit more extension in the left leg and the top of the left inner thigh. Coming back to your breath. Noticing where you feel that stretch in your body and allowing those muscles to just release into the pose. Embracing the stillness of the practice. Notice if you've gone a little bit deeper. As we hold the poses longer, your legs should be able to get a little bit more flexible and you should naturally be able to go a little bit deeper. From here, we're going to take the strap in our right hand, and we're going to open up our hip, bringing that right leg up and over to the right side. Left hand can be down by your side, kind of as a counter to help pull the left part of your body down if it's trying to lift up. And then go ahead and bring that leg back up through to the center. You're going to grab the strap with your left hand, and we're going to start out just bringing the leg across your body just a little bit, keeping the lower back and the hips down to start out with, stretching the IT band. Now, if this feels good for you, you can stay here. If you prefer more of a twist, you can go ahead and lift that right hip up, bringing the leg a little bit further to the opposite side. It's your choice. And then bring your leg back up through to the center. Bend that right knee in towards your chest. Release the strap. Good. And then let's just stretch it out long. So straightening out both legs, reaching your arms up overhead, stretching it out. Nice long stretch from your toes all the way up through your fingers. Good. And then let's bend both of our knees and hug your left knee in towards your chest to start with. And then bring the strap around your left foot. Straightening the left leg up towards the ceiling. Maybe keeping that right knee bent if that feels good for your back, so be flat on the mat. Or you can straighten it. And try to find your edge in the pose for right now. So our edge will change as we hold the pose longer. Normally, just after 30 seconds, we can go a little bit deeper. From here, you can take that strap in your left hand and you're going to open up the hip by bringing the leg up and over to the left side. Maybe taking the right arm out to the side as a kind of counter stretch to ground you through the right side. From here, take your time to bring that foot back up through to the center. Grab the strap with your opposite hand. Start out by bringing that foot across just a little bit, keeping the lower back down, keeping the hips down, noticing how that feels. Either staying there a little bit longer, or you can lift the hip up, bringing the left foot up and over more to the right side if that feels good. Left arm out to the side as a counterbalance. And then you can bring that leg back up through to the center, bend your knee in towards your chest, release the strap, and just kind of set it off to the side. From here, hug your knees into your chest, and maybe just rock side to side a few more times. And from here, we're going to set up for a bridge pose. So bring your heels up towards you, feet about hip distance apart. We're going to do a supported bridge, but without a block. So you're going to take your hands kind of to an L shape, your thumbs and your fingers out to the side. Lift your hips up, and then take the thumbs underneath your lower back. arms under your shoulders, kind of supporting yourself in this bridge pose. This is just an option. You don't have to have your hands there, but we're just going to stay here for about 5 or 6 deep breaths. And then take your time to lower back down. We'll take the feet out wide and windshield wiper the knees side to side a few times. From here, bring both knees in towards the chest. Take your arms out to a T. Take your arms out long. And we're going to lift both knees up and over to the right side, letting the knees relax over to the right for a supine twist. Let the knees relax down however they fall down. Gaze can be either up towards the ceiling or in the opposite direction of your knees. To get a little bit of a neck stretch, maybe closing your eyes here. This should be a nice release for your back and your lower back. Keep your arms out to a T and bring the knees back up through to the center. And then we're going to drop both knees up and over to the other side, letting the knees relax down. Gaze is maybe in the opposite direction of the knees to get a little bit of a neck stretch. You want closing your eyes, allowing your body to really start to relax. And then we're going to make our way back through to the center. Just press up onto your hands to come to a seat just for a moment so we can set up for Shavasana. So if you have your blanket, you're going to just use that blanket roll, and you're going to set your hips up right at the edge of that blanket behind you. It's going to go along your spine. We're going to lie down in the blanket. We'll start out with the lying down butterfly pose, so bringing the feet together. Hands can just be by your side with your palms up. So having this blanket here, which is kind of like a bolster, is going to allow our shoulders to relax down a little bit more, allowing your chest to open up. Allow the knees to relax down by the sides. Maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze. Allow your body to release and relax. From here, you can keep the butterfly pose if that feels good, or you can straighten out the legs, allowing the feet to just naturally open out to the side. Either staying here for your Shavasana with your blanket underneath your back, or you can just push the blanket to the side and allow your back to lie flat in a more traditional Shavasana. Allow your body to just melt a little bit deeper into the mat. Scanning your body and noticing if you have any particular places of tension, and just consciously tell yourself to release, relax, and let go. Give yourself these last few moments to just be, just for yourself. Nothing you have to do, nothing you have to think about. And then from here, take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Complete exhale out through your mouth. Again, nice deep inhale in through your nose. Complete exhale out through your mouth. Start to bring some small movements back to your body, starting out by wiggling your toes, your fingers, and then start rolling out your wrists, rolling out your ankles. Maybe bend your knees and stretch your arms up overhead. And you can roll onto one side, just pausing on your side for 2 or 3 breaths is a halfway point. And whenever you're ready, take your time to make your way all the way up to a seat. All right, and we'll finish by bringing our hands to our center. We'll take one more deep inhale, reaching out and up, pressing our palms together. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart center. Just taking a moment here to reflect on your practice. Thanking yourself for coming out and doing something good for your body, for your mind. Allowing the positive energy that you feel from class to be a benefit to yourself and the people around you throughout the evening and throughout the day tomorrow. Namaste. Thank you to Laura for joining me tonight. Thank you, and while I was away. Thank you, Tonda, for joining us online.